So, welcome back to the Couples in Focus podcast. I'm here with my co host, Michael, and obviously, I'm Thomas. And yeah, it's great that we're recording podcast episode again. We missed Michael for a long time, so it's good to have him back. And today we're going to do a little bit different from what we normally do because we usually bring some topics that we feel are relevant. Today we kind of change that around and try to figure out what is it actually people, listeners actually want to know. So we're going to go through some questions that might bring up new perspectives. Me and Michael might even have different opinions, but that'll be great to just get some different perspectives in. So yeah, let's dive right in, Michael. What do you feel? Let's get straight to the questions.
Let's do it. Yeah, hit me with them.
Yeah, amazing. So I think the first question that came through was, how much time should you spend with your partner? Which I thought was a really interesting question. So I don't know if you want to start and then I will chip in.
Yeah. I think the first thing that jumps to my mind is what happened during COVID. Like that's when couples couldn't get a break from each other. So for most people, yeah, they might need a little bit of a break from each other from time to time, right? And I want to be clear, that's not everybody. Some couples, they just love spending time together, and then their company is great, and that's really wonderful, and that's great. That's a totally fine way to be. And if your relationship does need some space from each other, that is also a totally fine way to be. So I always want to name more than, is there too much time together? I think I want to say, how are you in your relationship, and how do you and your partner flow together? And more importantly for me, I think is, are you allowed to say to your partner, hey, I need some time on my own, right? Yeah. Without it coming into the relationship as a threat signal, right? Without it without your partner going, oh, like, what? What do you mean you want alone? Like, does that mean you don't love me? And all those alarm bells that can trigger.
Yes.
When it triggers those kinds of alarm bells, that's often where it does create a lot of trouble. Or if I'm always asking for alone time and I don't end up spending any time with you. So I don't know. I don't know if there's a right and wrong amount of time together. There is, for me, the ability or inability to talk about it.
Yeah. Damn it, Michael. I really wanted to disagree, but I do agree. So I'm like, come on, Michael. We'll find something at some point. But I think I do agree with Michael on this one.
Yeah.
And I think fundamentally in even how the question is asked, we maybe have to reframe the question, because how much time indicate that there is one right answer to this, one amount of time that is the right. And I think what Michael is saying, which is so correct, that is not a question that can actually be given an answer to, because we have different nervous systems.
That's right.
Some people have more space for feeling more agency and more space. Some people recharge more. A lot of people with more introvert tendencies tend to need more alone time to be able to recharge. Other people who are more extrovert tend to need more social time to recharge. So again, we all have different needs and variables that impact what amount of time we need with a partner and how much time we need with self, right? And there's also difference for how much do I want to co-create my life and how much do I also want to have an individual part that's just mine.
Yeah.
And, Esther Burrell talks a little bit about this, even though, as I said, there's not a right or wrong answer, but she talks about how, even in the moments of closeness where we connect, and then there's moments where we move away and have time and gaps. And actually those gaps are also what allow us to have something new to bring back and share in the relationship. Because if everything, and that doesn't mean there's a right or wrong, Michael is spot on that. However, there's something to say that when we do have little moments of experiences shared away from our partner, it gives us something new to bring back to the relationship, something new, something novel to then share with our partner, whether it's you going to a seminar or going on a sailing trip, whatever it might be. It's something new that you didn't experience, and therefore you can now come and share it and have something new and a new way of engaging, right?
Yeah.
Essentially. And I think that can be really, really helpful. But I don't think, again, we can say, oh no, you should spend 6 hours together and 6 hours apart. That's not what we're
Yeah.
going to do
That's
here.
not how that works.
But like Michael said, it's about you two having conversations about what are your needs for autonomy versus time together. How do your nervous system recharge? So this is more about, again, coming back to understanding the maps of your partner so you can navigate each other better. It's not about what's right or wrong, which is why we need to reframe these questions that are often
Yes.
about what is a right, what is a wrong. There isn't such. It's really about engaging and trying to understand, how does my partner recharge? Yeah.
That's right.
And if my partner recharge by sometimes just reading a book, how can I try and make some space for that? Even if I love spending, 99% of our time together. Yeah. And how can we make sure that we both get some of these things we need to recharge? Because like any organism, if there's not space to return to homeostasis, to balance, then eventually that organism is going to be drained, right? And it's going to collapse. So therefore, for any sustained relationship, we have to find a way between our own time and time together that's sustainable for both people in that partnership.
Yes. And you were saying something, I think that's also, I just want to come back to it. Oh, my ADHD has me slipping it. Oh, hold on. Take that, rewind it back. And Thomas, I want to think what you were saying triggered a thought in me about like this idea of getting it right. And when people ask questions like this, part of it is their nervous system. It's like, what is your nervous system trying to do here? Because likely they either aren't spending enough time with their partner and they're concerned, right? Yeah. They're concerned they're not spending enough time. So they're going and they're asking the question like, okay, how much is enough time? Are things okay? I can hear the anxious nervous system kind of coming up.
Yeah.
Help.
Me too.
Something is happening. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, right? Yeah. And I want to name like it. We don't know if it's a good or it's a bad thing. What I do know is you feel anxious about something. Yeah. And that there's a message happening for the people that are asking like a very specific question like this. And there's a meaning they're already making behind it. But they don't know if the meaning is right or wrong or left or right. And so they come and they ask questions like this. But I want to invite those who are asking questions like these to be able to say, what is your alarm bell saying? Right? If you feel like you're spending way too much time with your partner or they're asked for a lot of time, maybe you're with someone who's just kind of like wants to spend every moment. And if you're apart at all, their nervous system goes haywire and you're going, is this healthy? Is this okay? Am I in the wrong? Are they in the wrong? Take a pause here and ask kind of sit with yourself and say, what's the alarm bell that's happening here? Yeah. Or maybe you're the partner that wants to spend more time and the other one's like, whoa, we don't need to spend so much time together. Why and they see, and it kind of feels like you're being stiff-armed. Again, I just want to invite you to slow down and ask yourself what's happening on the inside and what alarm bell is going off. Because time does trigger alarm bells for people. And it goes, I'm so scared that if we don't get a break, right? If we don't get some time away from each other, we're going to run out of things to say and then we're going to get bored and then this isn't going to work. And I kind of want to see how this goes, right? So they're trying to do something protective for their relationship. But then the other person is probably demanding more time because they've been in relationships where time wasn't an important factor to their partner and eventually faded away or they got cheated on. And they say, okay, fine, I'm never going to get hurt that way again. So I'm going to make sure that we spend time together, right? So there's a lot of good reasons people get scared by these things. But can we slow down and pay attention and say, what's happening in my nervous system? And can I begin to talk about that with my partner, right? It scares me when we spend so much time apart, or it overwhelms me when we spend so much time together. And can we talk about that? So you triggered some of that as you were talking about trying to get it right. And that's what I think people are trying to do. They want to get it right because their relationship matters so much to them.
Yeah. And this is why Michael is a great therapist because, there's something really important here that you notice, Michael, and that you bring up, that even in the question itself is something important to start looking at, that behind that question is probably an unexpressed need or an unexpressed fear.
That's right.
So instead of looking for what is the right, or even looking for a therapist, us sitting telling you what the right is, maybe the question becomes, what is it that you are missing? What is it that you're afraid of? And that might be much more helpful to be able to communicate to your partner than coming and telling them, well, Michael and Thomas on the Couples in Focus said we should have 4-6 hours.
Trust me,
You know,
we talked about showing your partner the real in Bits for Connection, about how like we don't weaponize this stuff, you all. Let's don't weaponize it. We're here to help, okay? We're not here to make anybody feel shame about what they're doing, okay?
So, but I also just want to bring to the fact of that there's quantity and quality of in relation to this question of time, which I think is important because all time isn't equal. So I know couples who say we spend lots of time together and yet we feel so disconnected. And I ask them, help me understand, what does that time look like? Or we sit every evening and we just watch TV together, or whatever it might be that they do. And we have to understand that, and again, it might be different what we perceive as quality time. But one thing again, and we talked about it in the last podcast actually, of these Q for connection, is that attention is a key component.
Yes.
And if all we do is watch TV together, that doesn't mean we're giving each other attention.
No.
It doesn't mean we are actually engaging, right? And there's nothing wrong with once in a while sitting watching a movie together.
Oh.
But if that's all you do, then you're still not giving each other this sense of dedicated attention.
That's right.
And this is why I think it's so important to distinguish between quantity, because you can have a lot of time together, but have little to no connected time, right? So it's about understanding what makes you feel connected. Is it when we sit and in the evening and give each other a little massage? Is it sharing your day with me? Is whatever it might be, right? Understanding what does quality time actually look like for you, and how can we create quality time that feels like such for both of us.
Yeah.
Because I think that's more important than how much it is to have frequent, small amounts of quality time.
Yep. 100%. Right. And the key word here is both of us, right? Any relationship, right, has to find their way of meeting like the needs of both partners. And to be very clear here, when a relationship is functioning properly, each member of the relationship is able to give to the partner the things that they need.
Wow.
And each partner expects the other to give to them what they need. And so it becomes a self-feeding relationship, because I can give to a relationship that helps me get what I need, because I also know the relationships help me get what I need.
Yeah.
Like, let me see if I said that right. I can give to this relationship and help my partner get what they need, because I know this relationship gives to me in a way that helps me get what I need.
Yeah, that exactly. And that's a positive cycle that then becomes reciprocal, where if I feel filled up, I am much more likely to then engage in behavior that I know will fill my partner up. And of course, also the other way around. Yeah. If I feel my partner never bothers to do the things that for me, I'm going to slowly stop doing less and less of the
100%.
things that is hurt. So this is why we talk about these cycles, either negative cycles or more positive, become self-reinforcing.
Yes.
Because every time my partner come to me and she knows I get very sore in my shoulder, and she said, hey, you want a little 5-minute massage, and we sit and chat, and she does that. That kind of fills me up and feel cared for. So I now become more likely to know, well, she really likes foot massage when she's been on her feet all day. It relaxes her, makes her tired. So I'm much more likely to now take that action.
Yes.
Right? And therefore now suddenly we had a moment where we both felt this was really quality time together.
That's right. And for there's some percolating brains in my mind that say, then is it, if I'm only doing this so my partner does that for me, isn't that just selfishness? And I just want to name it's just called reciprocity, right?
Yeah,
that's all. It's just reciprocity, and I think there's a way that our heart shows up in those moments that are different, right? I want to and desire these things. And it doesn't feel selfish to me. I love to give my wife a foot rub. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's so important what you're saying now, because what I was talking about is not about keeping a list.
Yeah.
I don't have a list and say, she gave me 5 massages, so I'm going to give her 5 foot massages.
Right.
I owe her 5 foot.
I'm due now.
Exactly. The fact is, it simply becomes a sense. It
Yeah.
happens all naturally
Yeah.
because you simply, as human beings, become more incentivized
Yeah.
naturally, organically, without thinking about it. So this is not about keeping count. I don't say, "Oh, I've taken you out 3 times for dinner now.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
take me out." That's not what it means. And we might even have very different ways. This is also
Yeah.
why the comparison model is one that leads to disaster, right? I've done this 5 times now. You should do X. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
So it's more about, do we both feel
Mm.
that we are getting quality time and moments of quality nurturing? That is more the important question. And if we are not getting what we need, then what would that look like?
That's right.
Yeah, how much do you need? And for some people, quality time might, as I said, for my mom, I know she used to love going off reading a book. She needed to do that for a bit after work to kind of calm down, settle in. So that was also quality time. So there's both quality time together and quality time that maybe we need on our own. And what does that look like is really important, right? And part of what make that balance work is having that understanding. My partner knows that what really helps my nervous system is to go play table tennis a couple of
Yeah.
times a week. So she's really supportive of that because she
Right.
knows it helps me stay really balanced. And I know she has some activities. She loves painting. So I'm totally fine that she sit and want to have her time to just do painting.
Yeah.
And then we also have moments where we understand, what does quality time together look. So I think knowing both, what is my partner's individual quality time and what are their, together quality time look like.
That's right. And just to name, and then we're going to go on the next question for time's sake. But you're absolutely right. On Tuesday nights I play dominoes like an old man, and it's fun, and it's just laughter. It's a bunch of guys being stupid half the time, but it is one of the joys of my week. Like just to be able to kind of unplug, play dominoes, and I like the support of me doing that is a massive part of our relationship.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go on to the next question.
Let me get the pad out. What
We're
was the next
gonna
we
go
got?
on and on and on here.
Oh yeah, so the next one is, why does my partner see everything as criticism?
Ooh.
Mm.
All right.
So
Is that all we have?
do you want to start or should I start? That's it.
Okay, go ahead. You unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll go. You take this.
I'll happily start and then we'll flow together with this
Okay.
one, Michael. So I think, again, with these questions, there's not a black or white, right or wrong answer to this. So I think for me, when I get this question, why does my partner see this as criticism? The first thing that comes up is there can be two different parts to this. One is a learned model. Yeah. So if somebody has grown up, let's say with highly critical parents, just as an example, then there would have been built up a hypersensitivity where the sense of self can very quickly feel that they're under threat.
Mm-hmm.
And that means as soon as they hear potential cues or signs that my sense of self is about to be under attack, a threat response is going to happen. And because there's now this hypervigilance, it can even be small things like, hey, you forgot to take out the bin, might trigger this sense of protectiveness because they had so much pain being criticized and critiqued again and again. So this comes back to the learned models that we talked about in other podcasts, these predictive models that often can mean that people can have a high sensitivity to this. You're probably then dealing with somebody who had a lot of critique in their life, and didn't get that care and nurturement and validation that also is required. And so they have a good reason for why their nervous system is on lookout for, am I being criticized again? And very quickly disengage when they feel that. Yeah. So that's one part of it. And the second part that comes to this question is, it could also be that you are quite critical in the way you communicate
Thank you.
things.
I was like, yes, this part's, yes. But there's also this part.
Which was the second part, right? That sometimes we also have learned models where we simply communicate things quite critically.
Yes.
Maybe, again, you have grown up with a critical person and you have now taken on that as a way to communicate your needs. So instead of saying, hey, I would really love a back rub tonight, you might come and say, you never give me back rubs. And can you feel the difference in the way of saying such a simple little thing? One thing says, hey, I would really love a back rub. That doesn't feel like an attack or criticism.
No.
But when instead I come and say, you never give me back rubs.
Right.
that is probably more likely to land as a criticism. So some of us has
Yeah.
also learned to communicate our needs
That's right.
in quite critical ways, right? So it could also be that the way you communicate your needs are quite critical.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what came up for me when this
Oh.
question was first
Well, so
posed.
many times I hear, I'm not trying to criticize you. I'm just trying to show you that you're doing it the wrong way. I'm like, that's not gonna work. Right? Like I'm like, yeah, that's just being critical. And if that's a normal way, because you're right, it's the essential. Like my family, like growing up, were yellers. So there's a lot of yelling.
Mm-hmm.
But what that did to my nervous system is it normalized yelling.
Yeah.
Right? And so, especially as a couples therapist, when I was learning and in school, there would be these really intense couples who were having these massive arguments, and it really didn't faze me much, but it sure did faze some of my peers who were just like, whoa, like in the face of that kind of aggression, they freeze up and they're just like, I'm not used to this. I don't know what to do. But it never really fazed me because, my nervous system was used to it, right? Just kind of like, oh, okay. And that can be the same way with criticism. It's like, oh, yeah, I don't hear it as critical because that's how we've always talked. That's my family talk to each other. So that's a definitely important part, because we're not trying to say you're being critical. We're trying to say the way you phrase things may be very normal for you, so it doesn't land or make you think it is criticism. Yeah. But that doesn't mean it can't land for your partner as criticism. And so I'm going to go back, take a step back here. One, because the other part you said is also very important, right? If somebody is expecting criticism, it's going to go through a filter of criticism. Okay. And our bodies are trained to look for the thing that could hurt us, right? So boom, I'm looking for criticism. I'm likely going to find more of it. And I mean, I love Fred Rogers. Won't You Be My Neighbor? Right. But one of the things he said that I loved was, if it's not mentionable, it's not manageable. Right. And so again, I would come to the same space with these questions, which is going, if your partner is saying everything's landing as criticism, or they seem to always feel criticized, get curious. Right? What if you could turn to your partner and say, okay, can you help me? Because I don't see that as criticism. I don't understand it as criticism. It feels really normal for me to talk that way. But can you help me understand what part of that lands on you as criticism? Yeah. Now, I can either choose to go one of two directions with that, Thomas. I can go, oh, well, that doesn't make any sense. You're wrong. I'm right. Again, that's probably not going to be a great way to solve this issue. What does become important for me is to be able to say, okay, I can begin to make sense of why this lands on you as criticism. I don't have to agree with you to acknowledge your position. I don't have to then say, oh, you are right. That is criticism. But I can say, hey, thank you for helping me understand. I can see how that would land as criticism. Just from where you are, from your perspective, I can see how that landed as criticism. Yeah. Right? And I want to be mindful of how I approach those moments with you, or how I say those things to you. Yeah. And adjust, like make an adjustment, right? Yeah. And the more we're willing to make those adjustments, the more a partner is likely going to start feeling like those are easier. Like when we say something and it lands as critical, if there's a history now of partners trying to be mindful of that, then they're going to go, oh yeah, that's okay. But it's going to brush off a lot easier. Yeah.
And this is so important what you're mentioning here. And actually, if people ask me one of the key things that you see get couples into trouble, I would say that they're trying to relate from a model of that there is a right or wrong.
Yeah.
And so therefore we have to figure out who is right and who is wrong. And that will pretty much always get you into trouble, and
Win
that
or
one of
lose.
you at least are gonna feel criticized. Because I remember it's so funny. this one of the partners coming in and saying, "I'm not being critical. It's just that you're doing it wrong," and I really had to try not to laugh
Yeah.
when I heard that, because the fact is, how do you think that's gonna land? That's probably gonna land as being critical, because there's a presumption that my way is the right way in that, and your way is therefore has to be the wrong way.
That's right.
And I think instead, we probably have to start realizing that since there isn't a right or wrong, it's only the right way from your model of perceiving the world. So if you say he's not cleaning the house the right way, it just means he's not cleaning the way you would like it to be cleaned.
Yep.
Yeah. So he's not doing it the way that would fit your model of how it should be. It doesn't mean he or she is not doing it the right way.
That's right.
Yeah. And this is a real key difference, that instead of talking about what the right way of doing something is, talk about what it is that you need to feel more at home, to feel more safe, to feel better. That's a much better way to landing your message in a way that might elicit empathy, instead of somebody feeling criticized, as you were also talking about here.
Yep.
So instead of coming from this, you have to get that my way is the right way, so I can make sure you get it.
Right.
Try and instead come from, I would like you to understand that this is really important for me, and this is why it's important for me. So the perfect example is how clean a place should be. I've seen this so many times in couples therapy, and even this example come up where I remember she was getting really angry with him because he wasn't cleaning the way. So she would often say, "You're not cleaning the right way." And instead, when she could switch that off and disengage from the right or wrong model and say, when I come home and I see these different messy things lying around the house, my nervous system can't calm down. And I keep being like stressed, even though I just want to come home and settle after work.
Yeah.
And I know when these things are put away that maybe you don't notice that isn't that important to you. It really helps my nervous system calm. And guess what? He could hear that. He didn't start defending and saying, well, I am clean, etc., because he didn't have to.
Yeah.
Because there were no right or wrong model in that communication, right? So I just want to say, I think the main thing, if you want to avoid your partner feeling criticized or that there is critique, is switch away from the right or wrong model to this is what would be really helpful for me, and this is the reason it's really helpful for me.
No, that's a great point, Thomas. I like the right or wrong model thing, because if there's right or wrong models, we've got winners and losers, right?
Yes.
And if we're in conflict over our right and wrong model,
yes,
then there are no winners.
Yes.
Right? Nobody gets to have a good time here. Nobody gets to connect. Likely, it's just going to be another argument. And what we're not slowing down is going, wait a minute. Is it the right way here? Now, is it your preferred way? Sure. Is it more efficient? Sure. Maybe it is. Is it more effective? Maybe it is, right? But I'm just thinking through like moments in my relationship when I was young and how like I had a lot of right and wrongs. I was like, oh no, you don't put the bowl in the sink. You just rinse it and take care of it and we're done. You clean while you cook, Thomas. This is why do people that is the right way to cook, by the way. Then when you're done with your meal, you get to move on with it. It's fine. But these are things that were different for us, right?
Yeah,
I've always cleaned while I cooked, and my wife was like, do it at the end. And I was like, oh man, it drove me nuts, right? But it's okay. It's not right or wrong.
I have to say, Michael, you're right on this one, and your wife is wrong.
Thank you. We clean while we cook, people. Come on. Oh, man.
But we are joking, because what Michael is communicating, he grew up with a model where that's what you did. So that feels more comfortable to him. His wife grew up with a different model that feels good for her.
That's right.
So joking aside, it's just communicating different models of what we're used to and what we're accustomed to. And we tend to presume that what we grew up with is the right way.
Yep.
And I think what we are bringing is a more open-mindedness to say that people have grown up in many different ways and neither of them are right or wrong. It's about starting to understand each other and how we somehow can merge these different ways of needing to engage, right? Bless you, Michael.
Thanks. That's right. Right. And I just want to name it is very easy to understand the logic behind how we grew up. It becomes logical to us. And so you might be, saying to your partner, oh, but this is logical. I'm not talking about feelings. I'm talking about logic. It seems far more logical to me to do it the way I grew up because it's the one that makes sense. So of course I'm going to logic it, but we're still talking about a model, and that doing it differently would feel more logical to you if that was the model you had.
Yes,
so
that's right. Yeah. So it's your logic, right?
That's right.
The other person has their logic. And as you said, it also takes away the fact that there's also emotional components to this. So maybe one person feel more relaxed doing it afterwards because maybe they don't like doing many different tasks at the same time. Yep. So there's also the component of how it makes us feel to do things in different ways. Right. So that's why, as you say, when we go straight to trying to just being logical here, this is more efficient. Yeah. Well, then you're missing the relational moment, because the relational moment is how does this make you feel?
That's right.
And how does it make I feel?
That's right.
So that's why when we are so used to going to discussing things and trying to use the logical card, then we are missing what it actually means to be in relation to this person.
That's right. That's right.
So there we go.
There we go.
Is there anything more you want to go? I feel that, that's a lot of things for people already to digest.
That's a lot for people to percolate on for a bit. So
I think so too. So I hope you guys taken something from this, and we'll definitely be back soon with more content. So yeah, have an awesome one.
Sounds good. All right. Take care, Thomas.
Bye, Michael.
Bye.